it crumble. See the drowning, watch the fall. I feel just terrible about it. That sarcasm, let it burn. Gonna make a joke when it falls apart. I'm gonna rain my glass from my heart. Then someone shouts, that's what they get. For all the years of hit and run, for all the people been on VH1, when it all their money go. Don't we all know? Parasitic music industry, as it destroys itself. We'll show them how it's supposed to be.
Welcome to The Broken, episode number 3. I'm Kevin Rose.
I'm Double D.
If you're new to The Broken, one of the first things you're going to notice is that this isn't your average computer show. This is a little shady.
Hell yeah.
It's a little underground.
True dat.
It's a little borderline illegal.
Amen.
But it's something we like to call The Broken.
And let's pop it off with a couple photos.
We have got a great show planned for you today. We're going to talk about extracting and cracking Windows passwords in just minutes. You can do any box that you come across.
Oh, nice. And just as technical, Ramsey's back with another hacker tip. He's going to make a self-destructing laptop.
Yeah, Ramsey's got a laptop that, get this, you flip a switch and it's going to burn at 3,000 degrees molten iron to destroy all your data.
That is some crazy shit.
Crazy shit.
Also, what I have coming up, I'm going to show you how to mod the 3 next-gen consoles, the PS2, the Xbox, and the GameCube.
We're always telling you it's important. You got to back up your data, you know? You have all these games. You might as well back them up in case, disaster were to strike.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't want to lose any of that stuff. So we're bringing you the information. You do what you will with it. Also, I got a chance to sit down with the one and only Kevin Mitnick. He's going to explain to us what it's like for a hacker in prison. It's some pretty crazy shit. Let's start things off, though, with a little Windows password cracking. So you're running Windows XP Pro, you got yourself a personal firewall, and a pretty fairly complex password. That's a good start, but one thing you might be overlooking is what if someone were to break into your home or office and get physical access to your machine? Give them about 5 minutes, and they're going to have complete control over your computer. So a hacker has just gained access to your computer with a bootable Linux CD. They bypass your boot startup and run an application from the CD called NT Password. You see, all local Windows passwords are stored in the Windows System32 config directory in a file called the SAM. Your password is encrypted and stored as a password hash within the SAM file. NT Password works by using password hash insertion. That is, inserting a new password hash that you have created right into the SAM. The hacker now simply chooses the account to overwrite and types in the new password. So the hacker now has complete access to the system. They're back in, they've logged in, they're good to go. Only problem is they can't read any files that were encrypted using the Windows Encrypted File System, or EFS. For that, we're going to need the original user's password. So, this time around, the hacker is going to back up the SAM file and crack it. So they boot from a CD running Knoppix STD, change to the config directory, and copy the SAM and system files to a cheap USB thumb drive. Now the hacker takes the files home, fires up a copy of SAM inside, and extracts the encrypted hash to crack. Lofcrack is then launched to perform a series of dictionary and brute force attacks. Once the password has been matched, the final password is displayed. It's important to note that Lofcrack can take anywhere from several minutes to several months depending on the complexity of the password. Also, every time you change your password in Windows XP, it creates 2 password hashes, an NT hash and an LM hash, also known as a LAN manager hash. Now these LM hashes, they were used for old operating systems, 98, 95, 3.1, for authenticating passwords. They're no good because they're treated as 2 7-character passwords and converted to all uppercase, so they're really easy to crack. So the very important thing that you have to do is go into your registry and make the change to only store NT hashes on your computer. To fix this, just enter the registry and change to HKey local machine, system, current control set, control, LSA, and set no LM hash equal to 1. Now your passwords are stored only as NT hash and are so much more secure.
Okay, tips for securing your Windows password. 1, change your BIOS password.
Yeah, definitely, because if you put a BIOS password on there, the only way they're going to get in, obviously, is to open up the case and pull out the battery, but at that point, they might as well just take the hard drive.
Right. Okay. And then 2, change your Windows password often because it'll change the hash.
Yeah, it changes the hash, and there's no way that they can get into it because there's a new hash. They'll have cracked the password. They'll come back to the machine, but they can't get in.
True that.
New hash. So those are a couple good tips. Also take the tips that we have in the segment itself and apply those because you don't want anyone to get in your box. But now, it is time for Hacking with Ramsey. But we have to tell you, do not try this at home. Ramsey is a trained professional. Let's take a look.
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Snoop Dogg.
You know I'm mobbing with the D.R.E.
Yeah. You know the West Coast is back for all you suckers. So put something in there. Put it in there. Yeah. Suck, Snoop.
Top dog, bite them all. Yeah, I'm burning it up. DPGC, you should be turning it up. CPT, LBC, yeah, we hooking back up.
Hello again, my hacker biatches. Ramsey in his house. As lead hackers, it's important to keep our data safe. We don't want anyone reading our secret documents. We have to protect ourselves very good. That is why I have created the ultimate hacker laptop. Let's say your laptop is about somebody like try to look to your documents. It's about to fall into unwanted hands. You would simply push a button. The laptop would then detonate, destroying all the data. First, we're going to start with an empty drive bay. Fill it with the thermite. Now I will attach the detonator, wire a switch to the side. Now, after I push the button, the thermite will ignite, burn at 3,000 degrees, molten iron destroying all the data. And you're not worry about nothing. You're going to lose the laptop, but it's okay. That's it, you're going to be safe in this way. We're going to start with the drive bay and fill the drive bay with the thermite. So I'm going to switch from construction business to gardening business. Now I think it's full. I will attach the detonator and you push the button and it's gonna burn at 3,000 degrees. In this way your data is safe because already burned. Okay guys, now my laptop is sitting there full with the thermite and the detonator is in. I'm ready to push the button to burn all the data at 3,000 degrees. Let's go see the fireworks.
Bad boy, baby.
Yeah. With your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. B.I.G. 2000. B.I.G. 2000 again.
The weak of the strong. Who got it going on? You're dead wrong. The weak of the strong. Who got it going on? You're dead wrong.
Relax and take notes while I take totes of the marijuana smoke. Throw you in a choke, gun smoke. Biggie Smalls for mayor, the rap slayer.
Ramsey, another great hacker tip. Thank you so much.
Ramsey's hacker tips are the shit. You gotta love those.
You bet.
Now, Dan, you've been doing a little bit of hacking yourself.
I don't mean to brag, but I did mod the Xbox, the PS2, and the GameCube. It's time to mod some consoles. But before I get any further, I want to let you know if you open any of these console boxes, you can avoid your warranty.
Yeah, definitely. And we're starting off with the Xbox as our
Yeah.
first console that we're going to mod. Tell me, what do we start with?
First thing we need to do is get that case off. But it's not so easy. You have to remove a few screws.
All right.
And they're non-standard screws. They're Torx screws. So what you need are 10 and 20 Torx screwdrivers.
Okay, so after we remove all these screws, we can just pop the case right off.
That we can.
Let's go ahead and do that right now. All right.
All right. And what we have here, we have a hard drive and a DVD drive. We need to remove those to get to the motherboard so that way we can put on the mod chip.
Makes sense. Let's go ahead and remove that right now.
Let's do it. Now, as you can see, we're down to the motherboard, so our next step is to put in a mod chip. The mod chip we're going to use is the Executor Lite,
That's already installed.
which is already started. It's already fixed to the side. And as you can see, there's about 8 different solder points right down there.
So 8 solder points directly to the motherboard. You have to have a really steady hand in order to be able to do this.
Right.
Now, if you don't have this, I've seen another mod chip is the Executor Lite Plus.
Right.
That you actually align. Do you like that mod chip?
It's great. It's so easy just to affix it down and you're done.
You just screw it in and it's good to go.
Good to go.
Sounds pretty cool.
And then as far as the next step goes, all you need to do is we're going to put everything back and we're going to put in a brand new hard drive.
Let's do it.
Okay, we've got everything all back in order, but we put in a brand new hard drive, nice fatty 120 gigger.
Nice. That's a big step up from the one Microsoft puts in there, which is like a 4 or 8 gig or something around there.
Absolutely. So the next step what we need to do is we need to replace the dashboard called Evolution X.
Okay, so we're putting Evolution X on here. It's going to allow us to run a lot of cool third-party applications such as Xcommander.
Xcommander is great for backing up your games.
Yeah, you put the game in and you just choose copy, and it copies all the game data to the hard drive, and you can launch it right from the Evolution X start menu.
And also, you can fit like 40, 50 games on there.
So 40, 50 games on 120 gigabyte. Now, these are your games.
Yeah, these are games that you own.
Yes,
exactly.
make sure that you own these games before you go backing them up. Don't
sure.
go down to your local, I'm not even going to say the names of some of these stores, they'll probably see
Whatever.
those.
But also, other cool applications are the Xbox Media Center.
Right. That's pretty cool because you can stream all of your movies. You can even stream the Broken. You can put the Broken on here and stream it right to your TV.
Absolutely.
Now, so much information, all this information you put together, what was the best resource that you found?
The best place to go is xbox-scene.com. Gives you tutorials, everything you need to know to get this done.
Excellent. Let's close this up. We're done with the Xbox.
Sweet. So here we are with the PS2. What we're going to do is put in the mod chip, strip it down to the motherboard like we did with the Xbox, and we're going to put in the mod chip, but pay attention. It's really tricky to put this stuff back together.
Let's do it.
So here we have the motherboard out. We have the mod chip installed as well. But if you notice, there's about 20-some leads to solder on.
Yeah, these aren't easy leads either. These are tiny little solder points to the motherboard there.
Right, so we can't stress enough. If you don't have a steady hand, don't do it. You have a dead PS2.
Which mod chip did you use here?
This is the DSM-3, which is probably one of the more popular ones out there.
Now, what kind of functionality can we expect once the mod chip is successfully installed?
Right. Well, it's not exactly like the Xbox, so it's not going to have the same functionality, but it's going to allow you to play all your back to PS2 games, European versions, and also Japanese versions as well.
Now, we've also seen some other little tiny third-party applications, such as little media centers and things like that,
Right.
that you can add on, but not near the functionality of the Xbox.
Absolutely. So just make sure you have a steady hand, and it'll be good.
That's all there is to it.
Okay, time for the GameCube mod.
All right.
There's a few things we need. We need a GameCube.
We got the GameCube.
We need a network adapter for the GameCube.
Yeah, this one you're going to find at any little local game shop, your standard network adapter. Flip the GameCube upside down, push it in, it's installed. Couldn't be easier.
Nice. We also need some secret files.
So yeah, the secret files, you're not going to be able to find, well, you can find them. They're around, floating on the web, but
We just can't say anything about it.
yeah, we're not going to give them to you.
Also, what you need a home network. A home network, and you also need a video game for the GameCube called Phantasy Star Online.
All right.
So, our first step, what we need to do on our local machine, we need to set a static IP address.
Okay, you give it an internal IP address that isn't routable, like
Yeah.
a 192.168, something
Exactly,
like that.
exactly.
Okay.
Next thing you want to do, you want to fire up Phantasy Star Online.
Okay, so we put Phantasy Star Online inside of our GameCube, then what?
Now you're going to go into the Phantasy Star Online options and enter the IP address of the local home machine that you're running the secret files on.
That makes sense because in the GameCube, the Phantasy Star Online that's running on the GameCube is going to attempt to connect to the internet, but it actually is being intercepted by this local machine that's running those secret files, which is going to allow you to run a little exploit and send the games over to the GameCube.
Exactly. So your next step is take those GameCube ISOs and send it right over the network.
Okay, so it's going to stream them into the GameCube. No more disk swapping.
Exactly, but it's going to take a while. It's going over a 10100 network.
Right. And how big are the images that we're talking
Yeah,
about?
what we're talking about, it's like a gig and a half, like 1.37 gigs. So it's going to take a while. Be patient, for
Okay.
sure.
Makes sense. That is all three consoles, the basics that you need to know to get started.
Now, what's it like for a hacker in prison? The Broken talks to Kevin Mitnick. Check it out.
So, Kevin Mitnick, thanks
Hey,
for doing
Great
this.
to be
Appreciate
here,
it.
Kevin. It's a great name, Kevin.
Yes. One thing we have very much in
Yes.
common, that and our love for all things hacking and computer security.
That's right. That's right.
You are definitely the most renowned hacker of our time. There's no doubt about it. And a lot of people wonder, where did you learn all this? How did you learn to become a master social engineer? Is this something that you practiced growing up, or?
Well, before I became involved with computers, I was involved in a hobby called phone phreaking, which is basically like hacking the telephone system and doing really cool tricks with the phone network. And I was first introduced to social engineering by another phone phreaker, who basically told me that he can call certain departments within the phone company, and by understanding their terminology, their lingo, the way they do business, that you could obtain information by pretending to be one of them. So that's where I first got started, and I was kind of self-taught. Once I learned the basic of the fundamentals of how it worked, then I just developed that skill, if you want to call it a skill.
How did you turn that into computers? When did you start getting involved with PCs?
When I was about 17, well, that was before 81, it was a couple of years earlier, back in 1979, is another student at high school who incidentally was an amateur radio operator, because I had a hobby of telephones and amateur radio, which is kind of like advanced CB. And I met this other student who said, I'd probably really like computers. And at first I wasn't really interested. And then he introduced me to the computer instructor who asked, well, have you had trigonometry and blah, blah, blah? I said, no, I haven't taken those courses yet. He says, well, you can't get into computer class anyway. So then my friend will show him some of the stuff you can do with the phone, Kevin. So I showed the teacher some of these cool tricks, right? Even accessing computers through DTMF. And he waived the prerequisites to let me into class.
When you did some of your hacking and social engineering, did you ever enlist the help of friends? Did you have like a community that you were part of?
Very small. One or two other people. And usually when I was doing a lot of the hacking, I'd have like one other friend, and we'd be working together as a team.
So
right.
how, going back to when you started to commit these crimes and you were on the run, how long were you out and about for on the FBI? You were on the FBI's most wanted list, were you not?
No, that's a rumor.
Oh, that is a rumor. Okay.
No, I think I'm the only guy where they had a wanted poster. U.S. Marshals.
Okay, U.S.
Added
Marshals
wanted poster. I was never on the 10 most wanted list. That's a rumor started by John Markoff.
Okay.
I was a fugitive for about 2.5 to 3 years.
Most people, they're fugitive for 3 days. How did you stay underground for 3 years?
Well, by adopting new identities, and I would get a new identity.
How would you go about doing that? I mean, the internet nowadays, you can go into Google, you type a new identity, you can learn how to create and forge documents. I mean, where did you get this information?
Well, I just used to read a lot of underground books when I was a kid.
BBSs and things like that?
Not BBSs. This was like real, like Paladine Press, Eden Press. I was always interested in learning things that you're not supposed to know, type of thing, right? And there was a book called The Paper Trip that basically explained the whole system of identity in America, of how it starts with the birth certificate. So the key is, if you could obtain either a counterfeit or a real birth certificate, you can become that person. So there's a flaw in the system in the States where if somebody dies in a state, a different state than they're born in, there's usually not a cross-reference, maybe between California and Nevada or sister states, but if somebody is born in D.C. and dies in California, there's no cross-reference. So the government really doesn't know. In a lot of cases, if somebody has a work history, their death will be reported to the Social Security Administration. So they have a thing called the Social Security Death Index. But for infants, people that are 1, 2, 3 years of age when they die, there's no record that's created. So the key is, if you can find an infant that died in a different state than they were born in, you could become them. And that's what I did.
So how many of these different identities did you go through?
About 3 or 4. So I knew the system so well, and I knew their vulnerabilities, so I exploited them to create any identity I wanted. I'd go move from city to city and obtain legitimate jobs and to support myself.
Now, how did you know when it was time to switch identities? Or did you feel like pressure, like this one might give you up, or?
Well, actually, in my first time, I left that job and I figured, well, if I'm changing jobs, I have to go look for something new anyway, so maybe it's a good time to switch up.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did any of this actually, your identities didn't give you away in the end? It was
No.
cell phone
Cell
triangulate?
phone, by tracking me through cell phone usage.
Okay. But they did find you, the wallet that you gave me actually about a year ago that was the wallet that you had all your fake IDs in, was it
Yes,
not?
absolutely.
So how did
That was stupid, because the number one rule is you never carry any identity documents with different names in your wallet. But see, I had this wallet in my home when the FBI was executing a search warrant.
I see.
You never carry it on you.
Right.
That'd be stupid. Right.
When you spent the time in prison, you said you were in 8 months solitary confinement.
Yes.
What was that like? Tell me the whole rundown. You're locked in
Okay,
a
in your
room.
mind's eye. Okay, you're in the room the size of a bathroom, say 5 by 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's maybe a 60 or 70 watt bulb. Okay, there's a bunk, a toilet, and a metal sink. It kind of reminds me. We travel a lot between Las Vegas and San Francisco, and we sometimes stop at I-5, and there's a particular gas station right past Livermore that has the same toilet and the same sink.
Oh, that must be terrible.
Yeah, as that was, in federal detention, right?
Right.
And I'm going, oh my God, where they buy this at a prison? So I always want to get out of there quickly,
Yeah.
right? So in any event, you pretty much are locked up. It's locked down 23 out of 24 hours a day.
Okay.
It's high security. It's where they put you if you're La M, like the Mexican mafia, or you're a law enforcement agent, or you're a high security threat.
Now, is there bars or is it just solid, completely enclosed?
Just completely enclosed.
Okay,
Yeah, there's
do you have a
no
window
bars.
at all?
They have a trap door. Yeah, the window is like yay big, and I mean, if you put your face up to it, it would be about this big, right? And then they have just a solid metal door and a trap door about this way for food.
So when do you get fed? 3 times a day, or is it?
Yeah, like they wake you up in the morning, and you eat, and then it's room service.
Okay. I
It's
wasn't.
room service.
Now, I mean,
You don't have to tip.
You hear-
It's cool.
You hear a lot of things though about how they mistreat prisoners and things like that. I was
Right.
wondering if that ever happened. I mean, was there times where you didn't get food? Was there times when they didn't let you out and kept you in for several days?
Yeah. The Bureau of Prisons. I mean, it's just a matter of what guards are working at what particular time. They're supposed to let you out for an hour a day. Sometimes they let you out maybe for 5 days for the hour a day.
Right.
During that 8 months. So there could be a security issue going on or something going on in the institution, right? So basically, you're in their control, 24/7, and there's nothing you can do. But what my argument is, it was the reason that they placed me under this high security condition was all bullshit. I mean, to allege that I can call up some telephone number at NORAD
Do nuclear
and
launch.
whistle some codes to start a nuclear holocaust is like absurd.
It's just
Yet
like
that
propaganda
was-
to keep you locked up,
Yeah,
basically.
it was. I more than what conditions I was under, which sucked. Okay, imagine yourself in the bathroom, 70 to 90 watt bulb, 5 by 9, and you leave it for an hour a day. You probably couldn't lock yourself in there for 2 hours without going a little bit crazy,
Right.
right? So, but the justification that the federal government was able to use was ludicrous. It was something out of a comic strip. See, that's what still boggles my mind today, right? How did they do that? How did they get away with it?
How did you keep your sanity the entire time?
Well, I spent my time working with my lawyer and reading up on case law, rules of criminal procedure. So I was doing a hell of a lot of reading. I had an AM/FM Walkman because on commissary, they call it commissary there, where you can buy food and stuff. They let you buy AM/FM Walkman. So I used to listen to radio all the time.
Did you get out in the general public ever? I mean, you were only in there for 8 months, so you were mixed in with the general public of the other
Well, they call it
criminals.
general population.
General population for the rest of the time.
Well, yeah, in that case, I ended up pleading out, and I was put into a prison camp for 4 months.
Okay. What's it like going to prison as a hacker? I mean, there's murders, there's all different types of people that are true criminals here, not just,
Right.
I mean, as a hacker coming in there, you probably don't match with a lot of these types of people.
Not really. A lot of people want to pick your brain because they want to be able to use technology to commit crimes when they get out.
Did you make friends while you were in there? Talk to
Yeah,
anybody?
yeah. There was a few people that I don't have any really contact with them today, but there was people that you're tight with that are friends.
Right.
You play cards, you hang out, you just talk.
Did you ever get picked on at all being in prison or anything like
No,
that?
I got into a few fights. Federal is a lot different than state. I mean, it's between night and day. Usually in federal, you're pretty safe because there's always correctional officers around. But I did get in a few fights. It was over somebody that took some of my property, and in that environment, unless you go and reclaim it, even if you're going to get your ass kicked, you got to do it.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll be a mark to be taken advantage of.
And
So it happened on a few occasions.
What happens at that point if you weren't to go get your ass kicked and you become a mark? I mean, what are people going to do to you?
Just take your stuff all the time because you're not going to do anything.
They just know they can punk you around, basically.
Right, exactly. So if someone goes and takes your stuff and you go claim it and you go and take the first punch, they're going to know, well, there's going to be a problem if I do this with this guy.
Right.
Even if you lose, it still creates a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a jungle. Whenever I think of the correctional system, I think of was it AC/DC, Welcome to the Jungle?
No, that was...
no, Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses,
Yeah, Guns N' Roses, yeah.
Just craziness.
Well, not as much as in state or county jail. In county jail, it would be, if you went into county jail, the first thing they'd do is look at those tennis shoes. And then some guy of a different race, probably 10 times bigger than you, all muscle, to say, I want those shoes.
I just get the shit beat out of me pretty much is what you're saying.
Right, but if you give them the shoes without fighting for it,
It's worse than...
it's worse.
Really?
It's worse, yeah. Yeah.
So you would think you hand up the property, everything's going to be okay, but that's not the case.
That's not the case, because what happens is now you are a mark for everybody to take anything you get.
Wow.
Right.
So now you're all done with that chapter
Right.
of your life. That's pretty much all closed.
Absolutely.
What are you doing now?
Well, I started a security company called Defensive Thinking. It's myself and one other guy. It's a consultancy. It's professional services. I travel around the world. I do talks, mostly on social engineering and other information security, or about myself. And I just co-authored a book called The Art of Deception, which is kind of the social engineering Bible.
I have the book.
Right, good. And I'm starting a new book this month called The Art of Intrusion, where I'm trying to convince people that have done any black hat hacking to come forward and tell me their best story. The salacious, the sexy, the innovative, the clever.
Right.
Because I want to tell their story of the attack, because it's an interesting story, maybe a little bit about their personal background. Then I want to analyze the vulnerabilities that were exploited, and then discuss what countermeasures businesses and individuals can take to ensure it doesn't happen to them. So that's basically the format of the new book: story, analysis, countermeasures.
Yeah, so what if someone is watching this and they want to send you their stories? What email address should they send it to, or where should they go?
HACKS at defensivethinking.com.
Okay.
All together. Defensivethinking.com. Hacks.
Gotcha.
Hacks at defensivethinking.com. Yeah.
Kevin Mitnick, thank you very much.
Hey, great to be here, Kevin. Thank
Excellent.
you. Hope it was a good interview.
Very good. We'll see you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
That's it for The Broken episode number 3, but listen, if you want to get notified of new Broken releases, when we put out new stuff, sign up for our newsletter at thebroken.org.
But most importantly, tell all your friends, put it on Kazaa. I don't give a f*** what you do. Pirate it. Just get our name out there.
Until next time, I'm Kevin Rose.
Double D.
Later.
Cheers.
Kevin is going to talk to us about how hackers... Keith, you. You started laughing first. You started laughing. You smiled.
Keith, you can't smile.
You smiled.
Keith, you have to be a statue.
Damn it. There we go.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Come on. You're welcome? Don't burp. You haven't even drank yet. You're welcome.
Lost in a sea of combat boots. Less about truth than wasted youth.
Okay, we need to touch it out.
Somebody getting wiped.
Dan, rush it. Dan, rush it.
Don't worry, nothing gonna happen. Don't worry.
Dan, take it. Water.
Don't worry.
Water now.
Don't worry, guys. Before they call 911.
Water.
Dan, that's it. Yeah, it's prepared inside. Boom! Fucking asshole. It's still burning. Damn. Smell like shit. Somebody call my...
Shut up, Ramsey.
When did progressive get to space? When did the sea become a show? The kids who used to live for beer and speed. I want them from the
Ramsey, another great hacker tip. Thank you very much. Okay.
Who's Ramsey?
Who's Ramsey? Who's Ramsey? Who the how did he get on our show? Who the
That's another one that needs to go in the outtakes. Who the is Ramsey? And how the hell did he get on our show?
Ow, I hurt my hand. Ow, I hit the button.
Dude, this is all.
God damn it. Ow. This hand hurts like a
Dude, your mic's on. Dude, your mic's on.
Ow. Damn, I hit it like right on the button. God damn it. Keith, shut that shit off. Ah.